coming to you live from Horse Girl Nation, Philly Frolics with yet another banger. You could be forgiven for thinking Red Dead Redemption 2 was a bad shooty gun train heist game, since that was the bizarre direction the marketing team at Rockstar decided to take. But after it was released, it was clear that the game was actually about the joys of cataloguing nature, operating extensive catch and release programs, and watching beautiful herds of horses gallop off into the sunset as you leer at them through your binoculars like the common or garden pervert you are. Marketing the game towards the lowest common denominator, straight men, worked, and soon the normies were horse-pilled, researching the differences between seal brown warmbloods and Perlino Andalusians, and compulsively pressing L3 for no reason.
Easy, girl.
No reason at all. As I manifested my destiny, wishing real life looked like this so maybe I would go outside more often, a persistent reoccurring thought kept persistently reoccurring. Damn. Why this like Silver Buckle Stables though? Let's go, girls. Silver Buckle Stables is a Western horse riding game where you compete in rodeo and gymkhana events on a splendid equine birthed from the ether and sculpted by your own two hands. Your farm is not in constant financial peril that can only be remedied by winning the big jumping competition. The game doesn't even have currency. No, this game is about riding around the great outdoors without any government oversight or a polio vaccine like God intended. You begin with a handful of events that you can practice, spelt with a C because this is America, in the training area, and when you're ready to dazzle the world with your incredible ability to hit spacebar at the right time, you can compete for ribbons at different locales based on popular American pastimes, like fairground, country club, and sand. You unlock more events as you progress through these competitions, and by the end you will have mastered 13 unique games, most of which involve turning around in a circle to varying degrees. Circles, degrees. You unlock the ability to birth more horses after winning these competitions, and you can have up to 4 in your stable. You can keep them in tip-top condition by brushing them and petting them and whispering sweet nothings in their ear. Horses that win competitions earn hearts, which make them superior to non-heart having horses. So in theory, you can make each of your 4 horses get 5 hearts each, which I'm sure is something I did when I was 8 years old instead of spending time with my hideous family.
Country boy, I love you.
Let's Ride Silver Buckle Stables was released in 2007, towards the end of the questionably made 2000s horse game bubble, and then it was ported over to the PS2 in 2008. As discussed in my last video about the worst horse game ever made, the Let's Ride series was how a lot of German horse games were released in the US. The games usually didn't have anything to do with one another and were often made by different studios, but were released in a way that suggested they were part of the same universe and followed on from each other. So the same game could originate in Germany as I love and die Hosen zwei, and then turn into Alexandra Ledama 64, the case of the, how you say, missing childhood pet, and then reach Turf Island as My Lovely Little Brilliant Pony Club Adventure. And then finally get to America as Let's Ride, Horses Gone Wild, I don't want to wear a helmet and you can't make me. I'd always been under the impression that Silver Buckle Stables was a US original, since it's the only horse game from this time to meaningfully feature Western riding in a sea of Anglaise. But regrettably, I cannot confirm or deny this information, as even Moby Games doesn't know where this game was made, and they know everything. There's also something very American about making a game about something that only exists there, but expecting everyone else to be able to enjoy it as well. Maybe the horse game industry just thought going country would save their careers, like so many of our faves have. The only other thing I want to point out about the game's development is that there's a special thanks in the credits for someone or something cryptically known as the one they call girls. And whoever or whatever that is gets a special thanks on a bunch of Coresoft games. I don't know why, but it feels LGDP, LGT, LBG, LGBTQ+ in nature, so I want to know more. Or I guess it could just be like those drywallers who got fired for having an XA Urca way on site during Ovid K. For my 0.01% of watchers in Canada, you know what I'm talking about. But I choose to believe that it's something cooler than drywallers on TikTok, so if you have any more information on the one they call girls, answers on a postcard.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm in me tummy funny lucky gummy bear.
Silver Buckle Stables is by no means an open world game, but it gives you much more free reign to explore the world than most horse games from this time did. You have a home base of sorts with the barn and your house, which offers on-demand gender reassignment surgery, and slightly down the road there's an arena for you to goof around in. Admittedly, there isn't really much to do outside of your property other than play organic, multi-grain versions of the Gymkhana events with rocks and trees and stuff, but there's something compelling about a big wooded area to ride around in without any constraints. The world is absolutely festering with butterflies, rabbits, and snakes, so it gives you a kind of man's dominion over animals when you're all zooming along together. You can even get off the horse and run around without it if you want to. The horse doesn't get a marker on the minimap though, so it is possible to de-horse this horse game if they're ruining the game for you. Horse games will usually have you travel between the various activities in order to help pad the runtime and make the game feel more involved than it actually is. If you are able to ride around the map for fun, you usually don't want to because you waste so much time traveling from point A to point B for the story that the last thing you want to do is gallop down the same bland trail you've already ridden down 11 million times. But Silver Buckle Stables gives you the best of both worlds, where you can travel between the barn and the competitions using menus only for maximum efficiency, if you're the type to concern yourself with the fleeting nature of time and how you'll never be able to get these hours of your life back. And perhaps there's a more respectable way you could be spending your time on this earth that doesn't involve making video projects based on games no one remembers, and that were probably made by people who don't even remember making them in the first place. These people surely would never conceive of anyone investing hours of their adult life, almost 20 years after the fact, into dissecting these random choices that were made in a game that they were contractually obligated to create, about a topic they had no interest in, and whose lack of financial success probably meant that they had to leave the gaming industry altogether. Or you could take the scenic route and ride all the way to the competition on horseback, admiring the majesty of nature. All 12 polygons of it. In general, the animation and the character models are really nice, and they're much more detailed and realistic than in lots of other horse games from this time. If you're not a horse game connoisseur, I can't overstate how rare it is to have a horse game where the horses actually look like horses. You would think that that was the one thing that these games would actually be able to do properly, but you would be sorely mistaken. These horses are 100% recognizably horses, and they're even recognizable as America's most delicious breed. Sometimes their arms bend back, but like, come on, this is what they were competing with. We get flowy manes, mouths moving when they eat, actual reins that move with the rider's hands. They even captured the haunting stare of a blue-eyed horse. And a blue-eyed human. For the peel, you get facial sliders that change the features, but to be honest, most of them don't really do a whole lot, and you're stuck with a DEI chin saw puppet no matter how hard you try. There's some racial diversity in the skin tones, but only for people who are orange, grey, or have jaundice. If you pick the female character, you get a garish pink room with girl stuff like weird bottles and ugly art. But if you pick a boy, you get circus strongman dumbbells and compelling works of literature, such as Rodeo for Dummies, Boys Be Like, label secret diary with secrets in big letters. The female character was still far more lovingly rendered though, as she really strides around like a Barbie doll on her way to destroy a Tim Hortons bathroom. The boy is truly hideous, almost as if they are punishing you for wanting to play as him instead of, honky-tonk badonkadonk, oh me, oh my. The outfits and the accessories are so slay and fun and nudie suit coded. I wanted to play as a rugged, masculine white man to celebrate the downfall of the woke agenda, and I think I did a pretty good job. Arthur Morgan, sweetie, I'm so sorry.
Your cooter is beyond repair, flaming logs of pubic hair and nuts.
The competition-only format does get a little tiresome towards the end, as you need to participate in each location at an and level. Each level will include new games that are a bit trickier, but you'll be doing a lot of spinning around this one particular pole. The repetition of the events does kind of work in the game's favour too though, as you do feel very achieved when you shave a couple seconds off your PB. There are these bonus arrows on the ground that remove time from your overall score and help you to learn the right lines for each event, and for some of them they can lower your overall time to like 3 seconds. I like that the locations are notably different from one another, and each feel like reasonable choices for this type of thing. You also gain more spectators as you progress through the rankings, which I think is a nice detail. On the higher levels of difficulty, there is a bit more competition between you and the robots, but like, it's not difficult to win if you're a natural-born gamer horsewoman like myself, and statistically, if you're watching this, you probably are. Nerd! Why have children when you can play children's video games? For me, the best part of the competitions is the announcer guy. They have that announces each of the event. An announcer that announces, likely thing for him to do.
Here he comes. Look at him. Go. There you go.
He says a handful of different lines, and they're played at reasonable intervals, so it feels more realistic than the usual rapid-fire compliments these games give you for doing the bare minimum.
Well jumped. Well jumped. Well jumped. Well jumped.
God hates us. All right then, buckle up, that's all we're riding.
I don't really think there's ever been a horse game that I would consider to be good by the same standard that I would consider a normal game to be good. But the ones that I've enjoyed the most are the games that have clearly thought about what it would take to make a realistic horsey environment and how they can effectively make a horse girl's brain go brrr. Silver Buckle Stables stands out by only trying to do a handful of things and by doing them quite well. You're not going to get hours and hours of replay value, but it's a horse game that has stayed with me over the years because it really is just a fun little happy time with a horsey friend. There's no annoying trite storyline dragging it down, or endless hoof-picking minigames that make you wish you'd never been born. Within 10 minutes, you'll be riding around as a character you created, on a horse you graphic designed, playing games that you won't have seen in any other horse game before or after. Sometimes you just want to log on and gallop around for a bit and forget about geopolitics, and Silver Buckle Stables, perfect game for that. It's cozy. It's so cozy. It's a cozy game. It's a cozy game for the cozy gamers. It's a chill, cozy game for self-care and vibes. It's about being so cozy and chilling and vibing to these cozy, chill vibes. So cozy. The chillest. I'm really vibing with these chill and cozy vibes. I also feel like the simplicity of this game is relevant on a broader scale right now when we look at the media landscape and how bland and homogenous video games and basically everything is becoming right now. It would be disingenuous to compare apples to oranges here, as the average person is always going to prefer whatever junk Ubisoft churned out in 2024 over the junk they churned out in 2004. And horse games at this time were very much junk being churned out by whoever could be bothered to make them. But I think viewers of my channel, Nerd, can appreciate the simplicity of a game like Silver Buckle Stables and how it does so much with so little, at a time when every modern game is just doing the absolute most. A good bad game will always be better than a bad good game. Silver Buckle Stables has a soul. Star Wars Outlaws does not. Unlike a lot of games I've talked about, and will talk about in the future, Silver Buckle Stables is actually available for purchase through proper legal channels and can be yours for only $4.99. It was added to Steam in 2022, and the reviews are absolutely glowing. I clearly wasn't alone in thinking this was a great little game that got a lot of things right that horse games usually get so very wrong. If you're watching this video, I politely would like to maybe suggest, no worries if not, for you to go and buy this game, just so we can show that these old horse games are worth preserving, even if they weren't necessarily passion projects at the time. I feel like I end every video with a plight for women's suffrage, but I genuinely believe that preserving girl games are an important part of respecting female-oriented media as a whole. Whole. Maybe use a different word than whole. Even though these games oftentimes were kind of sexist, and weren't made out of the goodness of people's hearts. They were done to cash in on the other 50% of the world's population. They still acted as a gateway into a medium that was otherwise pretty hostile towards them. And in letting them get lost to time, we're kind of reaffirming that things aimed at girls and women aren't worth preserving. And they are, even if they kind of suck. In trotting jauntily along the babbling brook, you can imagine your child self seeing you now, still finding joy in something simple from so long ago. Sure, you could be filing TPS reports or procreating or whatever else productive, respectable human adults are doing, but would that truly nourish your soul in the same way that creating and engaging with art can? And time isn't real anyway. The myth of productivity exists to spur the working man into dedicating his every waking moment into generating capital for those who seek to bleed him dry. There is no shame in taking time to enjoy life's small pleasures, even if they bear no material benefit, or might seem strange on the outside. To rid one's life of passions in an effort to appear mature and worldly is to lose oneself entirely, as we are nothing without our idiosyncrasies and our strange loves. There's only two types of people in the world: the ones that lovingly craft YouTube videos about things you've never meaningfully thought about before, and the ones that observe. It's your fault I'm like this. No offense to Star Wars Outlaws players. I'm sure you're very nice people.